Hello everyone, I'm Mary, and today I want to know if this is your students' reaction when you tell them we are going to work on the reading skills. So if you are a teacher, you know there are hundreds of strategies we can use to teach reading. But when it comes to online teaching, students can feel bored and tired very quickly if we don't use engaging activities. Right? So when I started teaching online, I just used the classic activities.
Okay, so let's go through these 20 paragraphs together.
No need to say, they did work. So today I'm going to talk about 5 engaging activities that you can use during your lessons. All right, let's just go straight to number 1, analyzing quotes and biographies. Right, so you might start asking by asking your student if they know what a quote is. So words from a text or a speech spoken by another person. This person might be a celebrity or someone that was important in history. Okay, so it depends on the interest of the student. You can talk about different people. So let's say I've got a business student, someone that is into business. So I might talk about Steve Jobs or maybe Sir Richard Branson. So you can ask the student, do you know who this guy is? What's his profession? Where is he from? And then you start analyzing some of their quotes. For example, in this case, you've got to take risks if you're going to succeed. I would much rather ask forgiveness than permission. So what do you think this guy meant when he said that? So what is the meaning of this quote? You know, what does he want to transmit to people? And then you kind of force the student to comprehend what they are reading and explain to you. You can do it with other quotes as well. So, for example, I've put 3 quotes together here from Sir Richard Branson. So, as soon as something stops being fun, I think it's time to move on. Life is too short to be unhappy. Waking up stressed and miserable is not a good way to live. Think about it. So you see, if you ask the students to read aloud, also they can also work on pronunciation. Okay, so at the same time you've got this comprehension part, you've got the pronunciation part as well. And then after you've done that, this generates a bit of more interest about the person, you know, in the person that you were talking about. So you can just go to a longer text, you can go into a bit of a biography about this person, and the students are going to read it. They're going to happily read it for sure. So what I do sometimes, look, if I just show you here, when I've got long texts, while they are reading the first part, I just hide the rest of it. You know, because it's common reaction that students, when you show them a slide with loads of paragraphs, they go like, ugh. Even the ones that really like reading, okay, so it's a bit overwhelming. So if you can just hide some of the text so they can really concentrate on the first, the second, the third paragraph, this is a nice, good strategy. And then you've got loads of options, you know, so you can just, if you want to work a bit on pronunciation, you can do it as well. So let's say, oh, this word here, how do you pronounce it? And you can ask the student to tell you, so now you tell me the story of this guy, where is he from, or how did he start, and this kind of stuff. So they really have to comprehend what they are reading. And you can just choose the person that they might be interested in. So let's say, for example, this guy, my student likes cooking, so let's talk about Gordon Ramsay. Or same thing, so we've got the quotes here, then the biography. Or if the student is into education, let's talk about Nelson Mandela. Let's talk about the quotes he said, I mean the things he said about education. Or maybe if it's a teenager or they are into entertainment or other, you know, random stuff, let's talk about Kanye West. So this is not, well, basically it's not like a scientist, but there are some interesting quotes we can discuss. Okay, so this would be the first activity. Well, and the second one is mystery riddles. My students really like this activity, and especially intermediate to advanced students. So what we do is we go on Google and we look for detective riddles. So this one with a very short story, and you have to identify the clues to solve the case, to solve the problem. So this one, I'm going to put the link below. You know, this is from a page I found on Google. And basically, look, we've got unsolved mysteries of the serial killer. We've got like a story Ryan identified man in the local town, kidnaps people and demands them to take one of the two pills. So the student can read aloud again. And remember, usually when they are reading aloud, they don't pay attention to the context. This is normal. So you might ask the student to read once aloud and then just by himself, or maybe the student wants to read twice and once just focusing on pronunciation, the second time focus on context. You can read together, okay? You can discuss keywords, you can talk about, you can pre-teach words that you think the student that we will not know, okay? So maybe if I look cleanse, here I've got this verb and I know maybe my student is not going to know this one, so I can pre-teach before the student starts reading. Okay, so you go through the text together, and of course the student is going to engage a lot, especially if they like challenge. There are some students that they don't really like to be challenged, so of course you need to know more or less the type of student, the profile of student you are teaching. But in general, they really like it and they really engage, because if you don't understand what this piece of text is saying, you are not going to get to the answer. Okay, so of course, if they don't answer correctly, give them the answer, because you don't want them to be frustrated, right? So after that, just show them the answer, and it's fun because you go together. Oh my God, this was so obvious, how I haven't noticed. And it's very motivating. Okay, so of course, you're not going to be doing this for an hour, but you can work on this activity as part of your reading lesson, maybe as a warmer, or maybe at the end of the lesson when you just want to have some fun. Okay, so look, today in this one, for example, I just put two riddles together. So maybe you can do 3, maybe you can do 4. It depends on your student. Okay, and that leads us to activity number 3, comprehension questions, but not the ones we are used to using. The questions are going to be designed by the students. So you go on Google again. So this text, for example, I took it from the British Council website. You just look for a text that is not very long, because as I said, it's a bit overwhelming. Okay, they don't really react very well when they see this slide like full of words. And just choose, for example, this one is for an intermediate level, 3 paragraphs. The student can clearly see the letters. This is important as well, the size of the font, because you don't want the student to be uncomfortable trying to read what you are showing them. And there are loads of techniques to work on the text. So we can do, as I said before, we can do the pre-teach some words. We can do, let's just scan, let's just talk about keywords or words that the student might not know, or you can just let them read, and they are going to try to guess the words they don't know, because by the context, So there are loads of strategies you can use for this. The thing is, here, after they finished reading the text, they are going to create some comprehension questions, and you are going to be the student and you have to answer the questions. So how can they create a question if they didn't understand the text? It's impossible. So they really have to understand. It doesn't matter if it's going to take you 10 minutes or if it's going to take you half an hour. You have to make sure the student understands the goal of this activity is really to make them understand what they are reading. Okay, so I just left, this part of the slide, so we can just go together and say, all right, so what is question number 1? And the student is going to tell you, I'm going to ask you, when was this research made? Something like that. So they can be creative. They can create multiple choice questions. They can create open questions. They can do whatever they want. And you are going to play the student and you are going to answer the questions. Okay, this is entertaining and they really like it. I'm not saying you can all use after this activity, you can use the same text for a very traditional activity. So for this one, for example, I've got true and false. Okay, so if we click here, we can see I've got a true and false, also taken from the British Council website. The link is going to be here below. And you can do a basic one. So maybe it depends on the student. You can spend a lesson working on this short text. And if you talk about vocabulary, pronunciation, intonation as well, and then you can just go and use one of these traditional ones, gap feelings or gap fills, or maybe true and false, or maybe multiple choice questions. Okay, so you can do both things, a bit of engaging new things and a bit of traditional as well. Okay, so let's just look at activity number 4, analyzing services, products, or deals together. Okay, so there are loads of websites that offer discounted products or services. So for example, they offer packages for you to travel with your family, all included, 10 days in a very nice place. Or there are some pages, very famous ones, such as Groupon, that they offer products at a very good price. So basically what I do is I go into one of those websites with my students. So today, let's say we are going into Holiday Pirates. Okay, so it's just about holidays. And then you are going to ask your student, where would you like to go? So the next holidays, I don't know when you're going to have holidays, but what would be your dream place? So where would you like to travel to? And we are going to choose a package together. So let's say my student says, I want to go to Cyprus. That's a very nice place, loads of nice beaches and everything. So we go into the service, the product, we go into the package, and the student is going to read what this pack includes. Okay, so look, 3 stars, hotel and flights, works out, per person per day. And then you go into details. So the travel period, when is this going to happen, the destination, where you're going, the details, and then about your stay. So basically, you are going to ask the student questions about this pack. So are the meals included? Are you going to be sharing a room, or they are offering you a single room? Okay, so the student really needs to understand what they are reading to make sure they are going to buy the right stuff, the right thing. If you think this is too short, so maybe look, this one, I don't really like it, so let's go and try another one. So you can maybe try, we are going to all-inclusive Turkey. So what is the meaning of all-inclusive? Are we going to have meals and flights and hotel? And what about excursions? Are they included as well? So your student needs to read through it to understand what they are buying, let's say a drink, right? Well, maybe they buy it, we never know. So look, there are more things here. The dates here, the airports, additional information. So, 10% spa discount or hand luggage. What are they saying? Is the hand luggage included, or you have to pay extra, to take a luggage with you in the plane, on the plane. So basically, you just have to discuss the details of the offer. You can do this with electronic things or all types of products. If you go to Groupon, for example, the one I said, you can find everything. This is specifically for holidays, but you can do with maybe your country has a local website with these offers. So you just choose them. Of course, they have to be in English, and then you can really measure students' comprehension. Okay, and finally, we've got our activity number 5. Create a story for an engine. Okay, so for this one, again, you just go on Google, you look for a story. Again, I'm using a British Council story here, and you're just going to pick the ending of the story. So as you can see, there is a blank space there, and then we can see the ending of the story. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask your student to read the same again, pronunciation and intonation, and also they are going to try to comprehend what is happening, and they will have to create a story for the ending. How are they going to do that? Well, first thing, they have to identify the characters. So let's say, for example, this one here, if we go through it together, I've brought my son with me on this trip. He had some trouble at school. So we know there is a son, probably there is a father. We know it's a father because it's Mr. Okay, the eyes flicked up, blinked rapidly, and then shifted back to the heart of buying his hand. So we know this guy was a bit nervous, because he was doing some gestures that indicate he was nervous. Not much trouble here for a young boy. He attempted a laugh, but he came out like a dog's bark. Right, so how do we know where they are? So if we quickly scan through it, you can see, look, the property is stretched as far as the eye could see, even the fences, maybe it's a farm. Okay, so property, fences, and then we can see horses here. Yeah, so I'm sure this is a farm. So we know there is a father, there is a son, they are in a farm, and the son had some kind of trouble. Okay, so of course they are not going to create exactly the same story, well, unless they are magicians, but they can create very interesting things, and they have to really pay attention to these details to understand the ending, to be able to create the story backwards. Okay, so engaging as well, because they really have to make sure they are seeing, well, where they are, what they are doing. They really have to understand before trying to create the story, and they can create a title as well at the end of it. So you can do this in writing. So the student says, well, the guy was blah 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 blah. So you can write the story here. You can write 1 or 2 paragraphs with the student, so it's a writing activity as well. Or it can be just orally if you don't have much time, or if you just really want to make sure the student understood the story, comprehended the whole thing, you can just do it orally. All right, so I really hope your students love your lessons, your activities, your engaging activities. Okay, and if you liked my videos, of course, I'm going to ask you to subscribe, and I'm just going to keep them coming. Thank you, guys.